Hi, welcome to Dwayne's Guitar Lessons. Thanks so much for stopping by. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about how to create a weekly guitar workout.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, now one of the things that's really tough when learning guitar on your own and you're not following a system is getting overwhelmed by the amount of information there is to learn. Okay, and a lot of times when people learn on their own, they just learn a little bit of this, a little bit of that, blah, 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 and you're all over the place, your focus is all over the place, and you're not really feel, after a while, like you're accomplishing anything, okay? Now the best way to correct this is to create a weekly workout or a practice routine, something of that nature, okay? So what we're gonna do in this video today is we're gonna talk about how to create a weekly guitar workout. Try to say that 3 times in a row. All right, so the main thing that you want to really focus on, and I can't emphasize this enough, I've seen a lot of students come to me over the years, especially adults, who run into roadblocks when they're trying to learn songs or this or that, and it's because they skipped the fundamentals, okay? You've got to work on the fundamentals. It's like athletes, when they get kind of like when they get a rut in their game, you know, the coach always tells them, go back to the fundamentals. The fundamentals, the fundamentals. You know, basketball players, you know, do those layups. They do those layups 500,000 times because that way when they're in the game and they do it, boom, it's automatic, okay? And guitar playing is exactly the same thing. Learning any instrument, really, you just gotta focus on those fundamentals. And I know they're boring and they're not fun, but they are essential for your long-lasting learning of the instrument, okay? And I can't stress this enough. So if you're having problems and you haven't really focused on your fundamentals, you gotta have those down. It's so important. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I had a student come to me, he wanted to learn a song. I wrote out part of it for him, and then come to find out, he didn't know his chords. He didn't know like his natural chords, which is what this intro of this song was utilizing, was a couple of the natural chords. He didn't know the natural chords. So naturally, he couldn't play the song. And I told him, you've got to go back and learn your fundamentals. That's the essence of everything. That's the foundation, okay? So make sure you focus on that. And that's what we're gonna talk a little bit about today, okay? So let's say we go for a whole week and we say, okay, we wanna create a weekly guitar workout, okay? Just like a person who wants to get in shape, okay? If they wanna get in shape, they gotta create, you know, a workout routine. They can't just, you know, do a little bit here and a little bit there. They're not gonna get in shape, they're not gonna lose weight, it's not gonna work out like that. They have to have focus and they have to have a strategy. And if they stick to that, then they'll see results. Playing guitar is no different, okay? So let's take a look at 7-day workout routine. Take these as a grain of salt, utilize them in your own, plus you can create something else for yourself, but this is just some basic things to think about, okay? So let's say, day 1, getting in tune, finger exercises, okay? Finger exercises are very important because what they do is they allow your fingers to get used to being on the fretboard, okay? I remember a long time when I first started playing, I focused much on this, hours on this kind of stuff, every day. I would do different finger exercises to get my fingers and, you know, around the fretboard, make sure that they get used to pushing down on the strings, especially if you play acoustic guitar, okay? Because you know, if you play acoustic guitar, if you don't push down on the strings enough, you get this fret buzz kind of stuff, this kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that you practice your finger exercises. It builds strength and dexterity in your fingers and your muscle strength in your hands, okay? So do that, say, Monday, okay? The next day, work on forming and moving your chords, okay? That's another thing you gotta practice. Once you get your hands and your muscles developed, you know, forming and moving chords, okay? Like say your natural chords, okay? Learn how to form them, learn how to move in between them. Spend some time on this, okay? This is very important with your fretboard hand, you know? Pick a couple chords, maybe G and D, and then work on going between them. Work on forming them so they sound good, you know? And then work on moving between them. Once you got those 2 down, bring in another chord, maybe G, D, and A. G, D, and A. Okay, that's a good thing to focus on as well. All right? Then you can start working on chord embellishment theory, which is something a little bit more in depth. We can talk about that later, but that's something else as well. Okay. Now let's say on day 3, we work on picking and strumming. Okay. So day 2, we worked on this hand, forming our chords. Maybe on day 3, we work on our picking and strumming. You know, picking the strings individually. Maybe picking downward, or strumming downward. I mean strum, 2, 3, 4, then strum up and down, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you know, triplets, 1 and, you know, 1 and, 3 notes, and then 4 notes. And count as well. I know counting, sometimes that seems kind of weird to people, but you know, you don't have to count out loud, but just count inside your head. You got to get that internal clock going. It's very, very important, especially if you're going to play with other people. You've got to develop good timing. You've got to develop good timing anyway, even if you're playing, you know, by yourself, but that's essential, okay? So work on that as well, picking and strumming, okay? That helps to develop your picking hand, okay? Let's say day 4, work on scales and soloing. Okay? It's always good to work on scales anyway. Okay, let's start with maybe your pentatonic scales because those are real popular, okay? Or maybe work on your major scale. You know, that do, re, mi. All right? So that it all starts to build with each other. You know, you get your finger exercises, you build your chords, you start doing your picking hand development, then you do your scales, you know, and the picking hand's going to really help with developing your scales, okay? And then teaching you about how to play solos. So scales, and then maybe work on things like your hammer-ons, your pull-offs, your slides, you know, hammer-on, pull-off, slides, down and up. Maybe some vibrato. You know, work on your bends. That's a great thing to work on, okay? It's gonna just help you all the way around, right? So let's say we do that on day 4, okay? Day 5, we work on reading sheet music. It's very important to learn how to read sheet music. I would highly recommend you do that. If you don't know how to do that, even if just tabs, you know, even if it's just tabs, learn how to read it, because whenever you study the written word, you learn things that you wouldn't normally learn by just playing by ear. You discover things, you see hidden things in the music that you wouldn't catch by just playing by ear, okay? So I would highly recommend learning that, okay? Work on that, okay? Work on that, say day 5, work on reading sheet music, okay? Work on how to read chord charts, okay? How to read scale patterns. You know, how to read all this stuff, your hammer-ons, your slides, your bends, you know, strumming, things like that, picking patterns, you know, how to do all that stuff is very important. Being able to do it is one thing, being able to read it is something else. So work on that too, okay? Maybe day 6, work on learning songs, okay? Because playing guitar is about playing songs. That's the fun of it. And theory's fun too, you know, and some people kind of get into theory, some people get more into songs. If you can kind of do a little bit of both, I think that's good. But ultimately, it's about playing songs. If you ask me, you know, when people want to know what you've learned, they, you know, if you can play a song from, they like that. They think that's great, you know? You can play something that they recognize, you know? You know what I'm saying? So just work on that. That helps develop your timing, plus it puts all the other skills that you've learned, your chords, finger exercises, your picking and strumming, all that into play, okay? It puts it all into practical application, all right? And then let's say day 7, you work on creating your own songs. I had a student that come to me one time, and he was having an issue with creating his own songs. He would kind of get into a groove of playing a few things and then he wouldn't know exactly where to go from there. And I told him, learn other people's songs, and he didn't want to do that. He's like, oh, I don't want to learn other people's songs. I told him, well, the essence of learning how to do your own songs is a good idea of learning how to play other people's songs, because of the fact that it lets you know how strong songs are constructed, you know, how they're put together. It's like following a blueprint. And then you take those ideas and you put them into your own songs. Almost all the great players of guitar, all of them, they all started out playing other people's songs first before they created their own songs. So if you skip that, you're going to have a hard time creating your own songs. And even if you do create your own songs, if you have a limited vocabulary of chords and things like that, pretty soon all your songs are going to sound the same, because you're using that limited vocabulary. But if you start learning other people's songs, you start seeing things on how people approach the guitar, how they put things together, how chords are put together, you know, how rhythms and verses and choruses and bridges and intros and outros and things like that are all put together. Then you take those ideas and you put them into your own songs. You don't copy their stuff, but you just use them as ideas and you model them, okay? That's very, very important skill to know. So I would work on that on day 7, okay? So first you learn, maybe day 6, work on learning songs. Day 7, work on how to take ideas from those songs and put them into your own songs, okay? And once you learn that, you're gonna have some really good crafted songs. You're gonna know about intros, outros, verses, choruses, bridges, interludes, things like that, okay? Now, the second thing that we really have to think about is, well, how long do we practice? Well, you don't want to have to practice for 10 hours a day. If you do, I think that's great. Go ahead and do that. But a lot of people don't have time to do it, especially if you're an adult. So what you want to do is, you know, pick maybe 20, 30 minutes a day would be fine. If you practice for an hour, that'd be great. If you practice for an hour every day, that's 7 hours a week, okay? So that's pretty good. If you practiced on, say, 7 hours a week times 52 weeks a year, you'd have 364 hours a year in for your guitar playing. That would be fantastic, okay? But let's say you just do, you know, 30 minutes a day, even 30 minutes. If you practice each one of these things for 30 minutes, you're gonna see some leaps and bounds in your playing, okay? That would still be only 3.5 hours a week. That's still not bad, you know, depending on what your goals are. If your goal is to be a professional player, you might want to put quite a bit more time in than that. But if your goal is just to have fun, have it as a hobby, you know, keep it going and have fun with it, then 30 minutes should be pretty good, okay? But once again, it depends on what your goals are. And then, conclusion of what we're talking about here is set your goals, discover why it is you're playing guitar, why it is you're learning what you're learning, why are you putting all the time in, what is your destination? Is it to be professional? Is it to have a hobby? Is it to just, you know, hang out with friends? Is it to just take a break from the daily grind? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you know what that is. It's very important to keep that in the front of yourself why you're doing it, okay? Because that's going to keep you motivated to keep going, all right? Number 2, you want to stay focused on that. You want to stay focused on your destination, okay? It's kind of, that's why it's important to have a destination, because then you have something to focus on. You have a focal point and a place to get to, okay? And then number 3, which is really most important, is don't rush your development. Don't get impatient with your development. It takes time. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, how many lessons should it take for me to get good? Well, that, you know, what's your definition of good, okay? You know, how good do you want to get? How many hours are you going to put in practice every day, you know? And the thing is if you put in a little bit of time, you'll eventually see some progress, but it is going to take some time to get there. It takes time to develop the muscles in your hands. You know, you start playing an instrument and you realize you're using muscles that you don't normally use when you're like writing and typing and things like that. So you got to develop those muscles, and it does take time. It takes time to develop your muscles. It takes time to understand concepts and theories and things like that. So don't rush your development, just take some time with it. Give it some time to develop, and before you know it, you'll get there, okay? So try those 7 things, and if you have anything else that I might have missed, you want to add some to discussion, be sure to leave me a comment below. Really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for future videos and all that good stuff, and until I see you next time, you take care.